Okay, so I don't know if I'm in frame. Here we go. Hi, I'm one half of Jenn Squared. I had plans. I had lots of plans for today, actually. I'm not gonna lie. I had plans for yesterday as well. Continuity in this video, don't know her. But today, I was gonna film a writing sprint, and then my computer wasn't charged. Yesterday, my computer was charged, but the elements were working against me, and I lost a tripod because of it.
Well, that's my tripod in the lake. Okay.
And today, we are just gonna talk. Let's call it Coffee Chats episode number 2, maybe? Coffee Chats on a dock, I don't know. I'm creative, I'm inspired, I'm at the cottage, and I'm gonna give you a little bit of a progress report and a little bit of whatever's on my mind today. You know what? We're just gonna roll right through it. I gave you a little bit of my morning routine at the cottage, a little bit of how I like to get up and write in my hobby time, but as hobby authors, we unfortunately have to be adaptable, versatile, and probably a little bit flexible. You know, it was a little too windy and a little too chilly yesterday to get everything I wanted to get done. So today, I'm gonna continue on with where I left off. Yes, it's a different day. Yes, it's a different outfit. We're fine. Today, I'm gonna get started off exactly where I left off. So I'm gonna set up my little writing station. Let's just have a good day. I don't know where I'm gonna end this off at. So I set up my writing station, and I'm still waiting for my laptop to charge. So, progress report? Excellent question. Thank you for asking. I'm currently writing scene cards for my second novel in my series that will eventually be a trilogy after finishing the first draft of my first novel. The way I'm planning to tackle this is I'm going to write the first draft of my second novel before I go back and fully edit the first draft of my first novel, because my ideas are ever evolving, and I'm finding there's a lot of things that I now need to insert into book 1 and likely take away. I've changed some backstories. I've kind of reworked giant plot points to the point where they're unrecognizable from the original idea that I wanted to put them in my first book. So that's why. That's why I'm doing it in the direction I'm doing it. I think that's the best way. At the moment, it could not be. I will find out later though, and I can report back, and I'll let you know so that you don't have to make these mistakes. One thing that's really plaguing me right now is I'm having a lot of inspiration for a different project, a whole entirely new novel that can't get out of my head. I'm falling in love with new characters, and I'm falling in love with new complicated backstories of them. So I'm writing down all these ideas so I don't lose them later, but I need somewhere to put them so they don't stay in here, so I can work on my current project. Because as a hobby author, I'm gonna say it again, we're hobby authors. We don't actually have that much time in our lives. We're doing our best, trying our hardest, and it's really tough when you want to work on your current project, but the inspiration is there for something else, and it's really distracting right now. But I'm hoping anyways that my time away on a dock outside is going to change my perspective a little bit and maybe refocus my energy, or maybe that project, oh my gosh, a bug just flew into my face. Maybe the outdoors weren't the best idea. Where was I? I was hoping that the cottage could refocus my mind a little bit, get me back into what I started this for. But at the same time, I'm not negating this other inspiration that's popped out of nowhere that has really, really taken me by surprise. But I also love to remind myself that this is a passion project for me. This is not my job. Unfortunately, it would be wonderful if it was. This is something that I like to do in my spare time. So it can be whatever I want it to be, I guess, is the point of all of this. And that's what I'm really struggling with right now. And if you can relate to that, let me know how you can get around this problem, because I've tried all of my old tricks. So I read some different styles of books, not the same style at which I'm writing. I am writing a fantasy romance novel, to clarify. So when I want to get myself out of a funk like this, I don't even want to call it a funk actually, because my brain is doing wonderful things. It's just not focusing on the task I want it to focus on. So whenever I get myself into a situation where I want to recenter, refocus, I find comfort in old things that I've loved in a different genre. I'm reading a couple of my old contemporary romance favorites, which it's pretty much Emily Henry. She's wonderful. She writes a slow burn so well. Her banter is so good. I can't recommend any of her books enough. I go back to an old classic, an old favorite. In this case, it was Book Lovers, because obviously, just read it. Another strategy I like to use, which gets a little weird, if you're on the internet enough, you can find edits to any old movie, old TV show. So sometimes I'll look at devastating edits of like classic movies, a hero sacrificing themselves to save everybody else, like Armageddon set to a tragic soundtrack, just to get my mind in a place where it's thinking of emotional situations for my characters to be in. So I'll watch old scenes that really got me. I will just make myself cry, which, I don't know, let's not read too much into that. I think all of these videos should have a warning that say, if you're a therapist, maybe just don't. I'm not asking for help. Actually, I'm asking you not to give it. I like to get myself into a place of thinking of emotionally charged scenes that really stick with you because they're so beautifully tragic. So I mentioned Armageddon. Titanic is an amazing one as well. I know it's a little cliche. My current favorite right now is watching edits of a movie called Someone Great. It's another contemporary romance movie with a couple phenomenal actresses and a really good depiction of female friendship, but that's a really good one to get you feeling things, for lack of a better term. Those are two things that I'm doing. If you've got any other strategies, I am willing. I am ready to receive them. Just comment below. And I just want to say, and I think this point deserves a little bit more space than the others. Whenever I get into a little bit of a lull, a little bit of a slow point with my ideas, I call Jenny. I talk to her about the dumbest things I can possibly think of to make my characters do. Things that I would straight up never write down, never put into a book, but just spit out any idea I can possibly think of so we can laugh about it, rip it apart, and genuinely, a couple minutes later, we kind of find something magical. We find a solution, or we find reworking a previous plot point is probably a lot easier than changing the one we're unhappy with at the moment. We always find a way to, one, make it fun, and two, bring it in a direction that makes sense. I find everybody has a lot of self-bias that's just already present, and it can present itself as being a little too self-critical and thinking all of your ideas aren't good enough, or being unwilling to hear other ideas at the moment because other people don't know the full extent of your book, so how could they know where you want to take it, which is totally okay. However, self-bias only gives us a single lens, one perspective, and when you can talk it through with somebody who doesn't have to be objective. I wouldn't call Jenny objective. We are best friends. It's obvious we think each other's work is great, but when you talk to somebody else who has a different perspective on just life in general, they can point out the plot holes that you would just never see, because you're too immersed in your work to take yourself out of it enough to see that that doesn't really make sense. But when you're talking to somebody else about it, they're going to ask you questions that you can't answer. And when you get those questions, that's a good thing. That's something that your readers are going to ask. That's something that you are going to have to fix eventually. You are just letting yourself know about it earlier and letting yourself be receptive to those questions. And that in and of itself is so advantageous to moving forward. I would not even have a first draft at this point if I couldn't talk through some of the garbage that I was just writing down and regurgitating in an attempt to find something that made the most sense. I know it's embarrassing and I know it's hard to share your creative ideas, but when you get there, it's kind of life-changing. Can't lie. That concept, that quality time that we were having, that chilled hangout, that inspired this channel. That inspired all of this. Neither of us would be where we are today without just having each other to bounce ideas off of, and we have each other to thank for our progress, and I think that's really nice. And I just hope you find a Jenny, to be honest. I hope you find somebody who is your Jenny and who listens to all of your craziness and helps you kind of sort it out and tease it into usable plot points. That's all I wish for anybody in this world, to be honest. I think my laptop has to be charged by now. I really, really hope so. I'm gonna do 2 25-minute writing sprints, write some scene cards. I'll probably only get through 1 or 2 max. I'm kind of at a point where everything has to be a little bit more detailed because I'm writing the last act of the book. So every one of the events is kind of accumulating to certain specific points. So I have to be detailed when I'm referring to older scenes in the book that I have written. So these scene cards are taking a little bit more time, but I think they deserve to be taken a little bit more time. It's not a bad thing. If you enjoyed this, let me know. If you don't want any more coffee chats, then please don't let me know. I don't know if I can handle that. We can just not talk about it. Write in the comments what you do when you're having moments like this. I'd love to hear about it. If nothing else, the weather's nice. It's a good morning. I am 1/2 of Jenn Squared. I am a hobby author, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy you're hanging out with me, and I can't wait to keep doing things like this, if I can, in my hobby time. Thanks for watching.